Hello everyone, Mecha here, and today I have a special video for you because today, December 18th, is Smogon's birthday. Smogon was founded on December 18th in 2004, and I've been around for almost that amount of time on Smogon, and I thought it'd be cool to talk a little bit about Smogon and its history and the things I've seen on it, and the things that have happened on it since then. I get a lot of questions from people that ask me like, hey, are you the same Mecha from Smogon? Is that you? Sometimes I'll get like a post on my Smogon profile about, hey, are you the same Mecha from those Fire Emblem videos, which is really cool and really funny to think about because Pokemon used to be a bigger obsession for me than Fire Emblem is nowadays, so it's kind of weird to see how things have twisted around. In fact, I got into Fire Emblem because a friend of me from Smogon told me to check out other games for a change. Yeah, well, look at that, what happened. I just got obsessed with a different game instead. But yeah, that's me. And there's like a lot of other random questions people ask me, so this video is going to be aimed at answering most of those questions and just generally talk about my experience on Smogon and my experience with Pokemon. I've been wanting to make a video about this for a while now. This might be a good opportunity. So first of all, yes, that is me. I used to be an administrator on Smogon. I joined it in this, not December 2004, that's when it was founded. I joined it, I think, in February 2004. I have been around on the internet before that. I was on IGN's Pokemon board under a different name since I think like February 2003, and then later on I found Smogon and I just kind of jumped ship from there. My first post on Smogon was actually, believe it or not, was actually me trying to join a tournament on Smogon and then asking if the rules could be changed because I thought Celebi was too good. This was back when Advanced, when Generation 3 was the main generation. It was the newest generation, so that's how old it was. It's really freaking old. So yeah, back then I was a teenager. I was very entitled. It was very different. I looked back at some posts for this video and I'm very ashamed. I'm not even gonna show any of them because boy, teenage Mecha is not cool. But yeah, the question I get the most by far, I think, or almost the most, let me see, does it show properly on OBS? Yes, it does. You can see right here, my post count on Smogon is 14,274. That means I've posted almost, well, basically 14,000 messages on Smogon. And that's one of the reasons I got the idea of making a video like this right now, because Texas Cloverleaf, you can see, has more posts than me. This is the first time that anyone has passed me. Ever since I've been #1 in post count, no one has passed me until Texas Cloverleaf has. And people sometimes ask me, like, how the hell do you have that many posts on a website? What the hell? And the truth is, I've always loved forums like these. I've always loved forums like Smogon, where you can just post. Recently, times are more about Facebook, like using your real name, or Discord and like chat messages things. But forums back then were really huge when it was like the early 2000s. And they only died off when Facebook became really huge. But it's great to have all the things that you have in a forum. You can sort by subject. It's a lot more convenient than, for example, Reddit, I find, because you can sort into different subforums without losing a lot of traffic. You can, like, for example, the Fire Emblem subreddit. There's like a bunch of Reddit subreddits that are like more about niche subjects, but they're much more empty because everyone just posts their shit on the main subreddit, so it can be hard to find things sometimes. There's no upvote or downvote system that gets certain popular messages to the top and unpopular messages to the bottom. So forums are just much more convenient. So I really enjoyed being around on there. There was a really good community, even back then. It was really fun to hang around with. There's a ton of people I know from the old times that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But Smogon was basically just, it was a lot of fun to be around. And the reason I have so many posts in particular, especially compared to people who joined earlier than me, is, well, there was some time back then where I just basically had no life at all. I would just be on Smogon most of the day. And do keep in mind, I've been around that place forever. So at some point, how do I say this? Even if I would post only like 10 messages per day, which doesn't sound like too much, and it really isn't, then it just builds up because my activity was consistent. Like, I've seen a lot of people come and go, so I've been around and consistently around for quite a bit of time. Whereas a lot of people, that they just kind of, they help for like a couple years and then they just step out because real life caught up to them. And it took me a while to have that kind of period in time for me to move on. I held interest for a long amount of time. So it's a combination of that. And then there's one social forum on the Smogon forums. Let me see if I can get that to the front page. You saw a sneak peek of Inside Scoop, by the way. Excuse me, fellow staff members. Yeah, there's this forum right here. It's called Firebot Development Lab. I don't know if you guys can see it properly. My script is in the way. Yeah, you can sort of see it. All right, you can see my highlight. That's good. This is basically their shitposting forum, but it's different from most shitposting forums on the internet, or like, it's not like 4chan. There's like a certain culture there and a way to behave, a little bit of a clique thing, and I pretty much understood how it worked back then, so I was able to, socialize there. And the posts there, they didn't take a whole lot of thought. You just post whatever you want on there, as long as you knew what fit in, basically. A lot of my posts, for example, are basically just, this is a good threat, or this is a bad threat. That was acceptable back then. That was the nice thing to do, or rather, that was the in thing to do, basically. So that was just me and a lot of my friends just shooting the crap out of well, not people, but you know, just crap shooting there. Basically, it's super hard to explain if you haven't been there. For as long as I remember, Firebot, there's always been people complaining that it's shit, and there's always been people posting it anyway. And there's always been like people getting banned for needing to lurk more, not understanding the culture of it. But it's basically a shit posting forum, anything goes. But I've posted like everywhere. Like I've been very active in this forum. Actually one of the founders of this forum, Circus Maximus, where people play Mafia and stuff. I used to lead that forum until I stepped down, and I appointed like most of the moderators on there that are there right now. A lot of the other forums I've been on, or I've done something on, that I'll go over in a little bit. But like, first of all, I'll just say like, I used to be an administrator on here. I don't think I mentioned that yet, but I started off as a volunteer to help out fix up Pokemon analysis back in the Gen 3 times. And I would help upload them through this like this really archaic system of like, I think it was called a SCMS. It's like a site content managing system. You'd like manually upload text files from your computer to update the ones already there. It was very tedious and very, very annoying to edit, but I would basically help fix up old analysis. I don't think any of my writing is up on the site anymore. They've been updated since, but back then I did a lot of that things, and that's how I got some of my badges. And that's how you slowly climb the ranks on Smogon. Is you help out, and then you get like badges, and at some point you get promoted to moderator because you're around in the community a lot, and they want you to help keep everything in check, delete bad posts, give people warnings for being stupid. And I just do a lot of tasks like that. I was a moderator on their battle servers for a while, not on Showdown right now because, well, Showdown is like, it's recently made, let's put it that way, semi-recently made. I used to be a moderator on like the old simulators, like if anyone is this old, I used to be a moderator on Net Battle, for example, and then later Shoddy Battle for a little bit. Those were the simulators we used before Showdown. So that's how old I am. I feel old talking about anything like this. But yeah, I also used to play competitively for a pretty long time. As I said, Gen 3 was the main competitive thing back then. But honestly, I played the past generations too, not the Gen 2. I didn't play that a whole lot. It had the reputation of being very stally, very defensive, and the games could take a long time. So usually it'd just be like Gen 3 and a little bit of Gen 1. Red, Blue, Yellow. I would not say I was great at it, but I was good enough that I could word my thoughts in analytical ways. So I wrote some analysis on it. I could word the reasoning behind some standard sets, and I was capable of making like predictions to the point where, for example, I would have like, I don't know, I'd have a Tauros out or something, and the regular thing to do with Tauros is you just click a normal move until things die. But if I knew my opponent had a Gengar, or even if I didn't know they had a Gengar, I would click Hidden Power Ghost instead, because that was the strongest Ghost move back then, and they would switch to Gengar and I would kill it. That was basically my highest level of plays, being able to predict switches and act accordingly. Or like, if I knew they had a Skarmory, I would, you know, instead of attacking with Tauros, I'd switch out to Magneton, trap it, and kill it. That was things I could do, basically. I wasn't really very capable of like long-term thinking, which is funny because I once wrote an article called Long-Term Thinking I knew what it was. But I was not that great at it. I couldn't really formulate like win conditions very well, but I could sort of play my heart out. And I would play like Smogon tours, and I wouldn't really get very far. The furthest I got on like a big tournament on the Smogon scene is, I think, one of the Smogon Tour playoffs. I made it to like, it must have been like the quarterfinals or something at most. I lost to a player called Lessem46, a guy known for being very lucky. I don't even remember if he got lucky against me. I do think he outplayed me. You play like a best out of 3 in a playoffs with like Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, and Advance. I'm pretty sure I lost the first gen and the third gen, but not entirely sure. I never did super well, but I have some records. I actually looked up a spreadsheet for this Smogon Tour playoff sheet. I looked up myself, and apparently this is the furthest I got in the first Smogon Tour playoffs, or rather the first series, like the first 20 or so. But there have been so many since then that I have no sort of legacy. Everyone else is better than me, basically. Hey, real quick, Future Mecha interjecting here while editing. I should note that Smogon Tours are live tournaments where you just show up on a server on a designated time and you sign up, and then you get paired in single elimination matches. And apparently I did beat Lessem as well as a couple of other people to win one of these live tours to qualify in the end for this playoffs. So I thought it was cool to mention. I have been drafted for SPL once, actually. by a guy called Tennis Ace. I was drafted into the Circus Maximus Tigers. Actually not sure about that. I think it was the Tigers back then. I think I went like 0-1 and then never played again or something. I didn't even want to play anymore after losing once, honestly. It was pretty embarrassing. So I wasn't too great of a tournament player, but it was always fun to do. It was good times. But around Diamond and Pearl, I kind of lost interest in competitive battling. And yeah, I kind of stuck to the old gens for a little bit and then just quit altogether and started doing other stuff. That was really fun. One reason I'm making this video is because there's a lot of weird misconceptions about Smogon that I want to tackle real quick, and being a person who likes to tackle misconceptions, I thought it'd be fun to talk about these. So one thing that people think about Smogon is that only the best Pokemon matter and you can only use the best 10 Pokemon ever or something, which is kind of relates to my Fire Emblem identity, right? A lot of people think that I think you should only use the best 10 Fire Emblem units. In Fire Emblem 7 you should only use Marcus, Kent, Sane, Florina, and maybe Canas if you like your waifus, and that's basically it, right? But Smogon is really more about trying to figure out what's the most popular and common threats in OU, helping people deal with those, and like writing good analysis on that so you can know how to tackle them, how to beat them, and make statistics so you can see that they are the most used, so you know what to prepare for. And then Pokemon that aren't as popular, they will be sorted into different tiers, and Pokemon that are too strong will be sorted into an Uber tier to make sure that as many Pokemon remain viable at once, or at least that's not the proper mission statement, that they don't necessarily want to maximize viability or the maximum amount of viability, but they want to keep a healthy metagame. If you're like interested in the kind of stuff, they have a thread on like Policy Review that outlines their tiering framework, which is more accurate than I can ever state. But my point is, they only want to ban things that are unhealthy for the metagame, and then for things that don't make it in the OU metagame, where the best threats that aren't unhealthy are around, then you just make a tier below that. So you get like underused, and below that you have like, I think it's never used, and then beneath that there's like rarely used, and then between that there's like PU, which I'm not sure what it's called now. But basically the point is, by making all these different tiers, every Pokemon is going to have a niche in some kind of tier. If they're not good enough for OU, maybe they're good enough for UU, for example. And the usage statistics and the tiering are used to make sure that every Pokemon has a viable home. So in fact, Smogon is not really about minimizing the amount of Pokemon you can use with Vada, maximizing the amount you can use, and finding a tier that's right for you. Of course, the most popular metagame is OU, because it's basically allow everything except the most powerful legendaries, and then some things that break the game. And then, of course, when we talk about breaking the game, we talk about suspect tests. Now, a lot of people think, and they promote a lot of drama on YouTube, that Smogon is trying to ban as many things as possible, and that because players cannot deal with certain things, they will ban those things instead of trying to deal with them. Like recently they banned Dynamax, for example, but they've banned a ton of things in the past, like Garchomp and Aegislash, Blaziken. You know, a lot of things that aren't even legendary, they just seem really good. So to a novice player, to someone who doesn't really know a lot about competitive Pokemon, it might look like they're just banning random Pokemon that they think are too strong and we just can't deal with them, so they're just banning them. But the truth is, the suspect tests are not, you know, it's not a matter of the council decides this Pokemon is banned and they're gone. It's more like the council decides these Pokemon in the community are being viewed as too powerful, we should test them. And the word test implies that, you know, we're not sure, so we need to check this out. And what they do is they make like a special ladder event, basically. They're like, okay, this Pokemon is being suspect tested. Now you have to play on the ladder to show that you know what you're doing. And then if you get a high enough requirements, if you have a high enough, I think it's like called an ELO rating, or like if you get high enough on the ladder, basically, if you play well enough, you can vote in the suspect test. And if we get a certain majority, depending on what exactly is being done, I think usually you have to get like a 60% majority for Pokemon to get banned. And if like 60% of the players who got the qualifications decide to ban a Pokemon, then it gets banned. So it's the community who gets to decide, does it get banned or not. The people who actually play the game, because, I mean, you could ask yourself, why not just let everyone vote? Because everyone plays this game, why should it matter more what the good players think? But the good players are the ones who have the most stake in a metagame being healthy. And if anyone, any player, even someone who's never played a game before can vote, then the people who get played the most are getting affected in a way that's kind of not proportional, you know? You should have a say in this game only if you play it actively enough to know what you're doing. It's more like a meritocracy, I think that's how you pronounce it, than like a democracy. So you have the right to vote, but you do have to reach the qualifications. And generally, I think suspect tests aren't very close. The Dynamax ban, I think, had like a 80% to 90% ban rate. So actually, it should be on the front page right here. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, like an 86.7% majority, and that means they removed Dynamax. So sure, it's Smogon's idea to test these suspect tests, but it's the community who decides whether they get banned or not. And if you disagree, you're free to vote with them. I'm not going to deny people get like influenced on their votes or anything. Sure, some people just copy paste the popular opinions, but like personally, I don't play Gen 8 ever, but I think I can see that Dynamax was pretty broken, and I'm glad they banned it in case I ever have to play that game. But more on that later. But yeah, generally Smogon Smogon is just a rule set. That's important to remember. It's a highly used rule set by a lot of players, but they recognize that they're only a rule set. If you want to play on your cartridge or you want to play on Showdown with like a different rule set, you can do that anytime. You can play with Ubers if you want. You can play with Double Team if you want. You can play with Evasion if you want. You can play with Mega Rayquaza in older gens if you want. The point is, you don't have to use Smogon's rule set, but within Smogon's rule set there are certain rules and certain Pokemon that just need to be banned for the health of the metagame. And if you disagree, you're free to use your own rule set. But Smogon is an authority on competitive battling, and I think they've earned it. I think they've earned that reputation. So yeah, there's like another thing about Smogon is a lot of people think it was like elitist or elitist. It used to be. It definitely used to be. When I first joined it in like 2004. This site was edgy as hell. People like Smogon is the German name for coughing, and there were a lot of Nazi jokes back then. It wasn't great. It was very edgy, and it was very much like, okay, if you're in our clique, if you're within our like 10 to 20 people, 30 people friend circle, cool. And if you're not, you're gonna have to prove yourself because you're an outsider. And that was definitely back when it was elitist. Nowadays, anyone can contribute. Anyone is free to help out. There's people tracking in like the inside forums that see like, hey, who's being very helpful in our threads, who's contributing to like discussions a lot, and those people are being kept an eye on in case they ever want to help out, get a staff position and such. So it's a much more like I wouldn't call it a democracy for sure. It for sure isn't a democracy, but there's a very healthy and very hardworking staff out there that deserves a lot more credit than it often gets. There's a lot of people I remember from my old times from Smogon, and I know some of them sometimes check out my videos or they find them by accident and they just hype me up, and it's super cool. So I just want to shout out a couple of names that I remember that I found on the list of most messages and stuff. You used to be able to sort this list right here by joining date, but I don't think you can do that anymore. I couldn't find a way right now anyway, so that kind of sucks. But for example, DM, the guy you can see right here, we got promoted to Supermod at the same time, I just remembered. And we got called the Mullet Brothers for some reason, I don't know why. Rodan right here is someone I remember, he's still around on Discord, I think. Cookie is someone I've hung out with. He was in that Firebot clique. Yeah, he definitely always pioneered the Firebot culture, basically. He's just a super funny guy, basically. Tennis Ace, I think, drafted me in SPL, I mentioned this before. Arrow Blacktail is someone who's been around for ages, played Pokemon a lot. Always very funny in the Rate My Team forums. Elevator Music, funny story about that. I was a tutor at one point on Smogon in the Battling 101 program where experienced players help less experienced players. And at one point, I think I was actually tutoring people in Diamond and Pearl, even though I wasn't really very good at it. I just kind of had it as a side option to teach people like the basics of competitive battling in Diamond and Pearl if they wanted to. But I was mostly there for the first gen and the third gen. And then Elevator Music joined the program for some reason, but he was way more experienced in Diamond and Pearl than I was, which is super weird. That was the moment when I decided, I shouldn't be tutoring you. You should be tutoring me, if anything. So this system is messed up right now. I actually was the head of Battling 101 for a while, at least like the figurehead in a way. Someone else was controlling it, but they didn't want their name at the top for some reason. I don't remember the specifics, but someone else was really in control of it. I was just kind of put in there as the lead. But that's one of the reasons why I have a tutoring badge. Can you see my badges on here? I think I can just open my own profile, right? Let's see. Yeah, there's my badge set. All right. So I was the head of tutoring at one point. I was also the person who first decided we should have tutor talks in Battling 101, where tutors could exchange ideas on like what the best way to teach each other is. I ended up becoming a teacher, so I guess that makes sense. I was also site staff alumnus, apparently. That's the fire badge. I think that's like the Flannery badge or whatever. That just means I helped out updating the site and updating content. Other people would like update content, I would approve it, that kind of stuff. This is for live chat. contributing alumnus is like the Rainbow Badge, I think. That's basically just for being on IRC, which is the predecessor to Discord. Imagine Discord, but no avatars, no images, just text. Multiplayer notepad. A lot of fun, but really old and really, really ancient, but a lot of fun back then. It just meant I was a moderator there, which was really a non-function, really. This badge next is CAP Contributor Alumnus. That means I helped out in the Create a Pokemon process, which was also a lot of fun. I don't remember exactly what I did to get this badge. I think I just helped the discussion, and that's basically it. I probably moderated the forums at some point or was like active there, but I don't remember doing a whole lot for that program. This Cascade badge, like the drop badge, is contributor. That just means I wrote analysis. We got the top Smogon media contributor alumnus. That just means I helped writing for the Smog, which is the predecessor to the Flying Press, which is basically their news. Before they had like this monthly magazine, this e-zine, where they would write articles. I would write articles about Mafia mostly. That was always fun, and I always helped out with like the organizing of it. And then finally we have, what is this badge? Administrator alumnus, right? Because I used to be an administrator. At one point, I was actually demoted to super mod and like gave them the administrator alumnus because they were like, you're like active enough-ish to be a super mod and we trust you and stuff, but you're not really an admin. So yeah, that's why I got that one. But apparently I'm not a super moderator anymore. I retired ages ago, really. I should find my retirement thread at some point. But yeah. Let's see, where was that? Alright, those are my badges. I remember Hitmonlee, I remember this guy. He's also been around for freaking ages. I actually met this guy before in real life. Doug is another guy I remember from the old days. He led the Create a Pokemon program. He's very nice to talk to, a very chill guy, a really, really cool guy. I think he's still an administrator technically. I just don't see him around a whole lot. And I remember the more controversial figures as well. There were a ton. I remember at one point, like 2 really big staff members got banned, Haunter and Blue, different times and for different reasons. Good reasons, don't get me wrong. They definitely should have been banned. They were really abusive of their things. But that's just one piece of drama that I remember. There was so many drama things that I could tell you about, but it's probably not a good time for me to talk about those. But yeah, I met a bunch of people from Smogon in real life. I've met Hitmonlee, a guy called Altmer, Alexei, I think is how I'm supposed to pronounce it. A guy called McGraw, Setsuna. I even met some like people who are big in VGC. I've met Sinner, aka Scott Glaza. He does like commentary on the official VGC stream sometimes. I've had the pleasure of meeting Aaron Zhang, also known as Cybertron, and Ray Rizzo. Two really well-known people from, like, they won big tournaments in VGC, actually. I have a funny story about both, actually. Aaron Zhang, I think I saw him at a food court somewhere when I was in the USA once, or like Canada, and he asked me to take a picture with his phone of like him and a couple of, I think, Japanese players, people he knew really well. And for some reason I was dumb, I was being a real boomer there, and I like accidentally held one of my fingers in front of the picture. So I fucking messed up the picture. And people walked on, and when he saw the picture, they were already gone. So I fucked up his opportunity to take a picture. I will always remember this moment. It was a very proud moment in my life. And then some other points, Ray Rizzo. So Ray Rizzo on Smogon is called Blue Cookies, I think that's his name. And at one point I was supposed to make him, I was supposed to change something in the site management content system, or like the admin panel or something. I was supposed to give him like a badge for something, I think, or something minor. But for some reason, instead I allowed him access to like a subforum where we were planning an April Fool's joke. Which was like a really elaborate April Fool's joke, and I almost fucked it up for a lot of people, but Ray, thankfully being the good sport that he is, played along with it and actually helped spread the joke on the day itself instead of giving it away, which is very cool of him. And then later he ended up winning the VGC World Championships 3 times in a row. So I knew him before he was cool, was basically my point. I also met him like in real life at one point, and he's just super nice. That's really the main things I wanted to summarize about my history on Smogon. Right now, I don't really keep up with the metagame right now. I do watch one competitive Pokemon player, and that guy is called Thunder Blunder. I think it's like 777, so it's one too many, I guess. Really funny guy with a super smooth, low voice that I wish I could have. I like my own voice, but that guy just has the best voice ever. He plays it really, really well. Like, I talked before about how I play Pokemon. I would be like proud if I managed to predict the switch, or maybe make some kind of mid-ground play, but Blunder plays much more quickly than I do, first of all. He plays while delivering commentary, delivers it while playing entertainingly. Makes really ballsy plays, but a lot of times he just finds good safe plays. It's impossible to explain why he plays so well, really eloquently. I would say he's just capable of predicting, but he also knows when he doesn't have to, and he just knows how to play Pokemon basically to a level that I've never understood it. It's really fun to watch, and a lot more fun than trying to struggle on Showdown myself. So I'll just, whenever I just have lunch or something on my computer, I'll just put on a Blunder video, and I'll have a good time. So I recommend you watch him too. He sometimes collabs with other people from his friend group. He has like good chemistry with all of them. Personality-wise, the one I enjoyed the most actually was CBB, some German guy with a really good English accent for some reason, or like a good American accent, I guess. Just another really good player and like good way of analyzing the game. PokeAim is a really well-known YouTuber too, and his collabs with Thunder Blunder are always really fun to watch. I think PokeAim is, I would say he's almost better than Thunder Blunder because he's just, his way of winning games just seems so straightforward. He makes it look so easy. It's so stupid. He's funny as well. I enjoy watching his channel a bit less than I enjoy watching Blunder for some reason. I think the Blunder's personality just resonates more with me, or even though they both rely on like repetitive phrasing and like memes and stuff quite a bit sometimes, I just enjoy Blunder's more for some reason. Although the agency shit that he's been spamming lately, I don't know about that, man. I would have stuck with whatever he had previously, but I don't remember because he's been brainwashing me with the agency, and now I just want to buy merch. No, I don't. No, I don't. Anyway, sometimes Blunder will like collab with like CTC, and CTC is very popular apparently in the comment section. I've never really enjoyed CTC as like a co-commentator. He's always shouting into his mic as if he's like 2 kilometers away from his mic, even though he's like right in front of it. And it's super fucking annoying, or he's like eating in front of the camera or something, or in front of the mic, and it's super disgusting. So I'd rather listen to someone else, but it's funny to have him around though for some reason. He's in some ways the guy's just super stupid, in the other ways he's like a super treasure. I don't know. But basically, because I follow Blunder, I am up to date with Sword and Shield meta for the most part, but I don't really know a whole lot about playing it. Like if you gave me a team and made me play, I probably wouldn't do nearly as well as someone who actually played would. But I know the best Pokemon, sort of. For example, I know Dracovish is super good. I know Darmanitan is super good. That's almost the extent of my knowledge, but that's what I know. But yeah, Blunder, really fun to watch. He uploads like every day right now because of Sword and Shield. His channel was already really big before Sword and Shield, but I think it grew by like 15,000 subs since the release of Sword and Shield, so that's really huge, and that's honestly great because he really has the talent, and he puts a lot of practice into Pokemon. So I know Blunder's not really Smogon, I talked about him a lot, but I thought I'd mention him since I referred to him in like my previous videos a couple of times. Really fun to watch. But that's pretty much all I have to say on Smogon on my own accord. This is, I think, the most things that people ask me the most, like, are you mecha? How is your post count this high? Are you actually an admin? Stuff like that. But yeah, Smogon gets a lot of undeserved crap on YouTube sometimes, and even in general, so I think it's good to shine it in like put it in like a more positive light. I know from behind the scenes that the staff has a lot of passion for the game and the website. There's a ton of hard workers in there that deserve to be recognized, so this is my happy birthday gift to all of you hard workers on Smogon. Thank you for making a really cool website. Thanks for, taking the torch from old geezers like me and making it look good. If you have any more questions for me about Smogon or Pokemon, I will be happy to answer them in the comments. I don't know if I can get to all of them, but I'll be reading them all for sure and answering the most interesting ones. Keep in mind, I can't leak inside information from the staff forums or anything. Keep that in mind. I also get asked a lot if I'd be up for some games on Showdown. Obviously, I cannot battle every single one of my subscribers or even the people who wanted it. But sometimes, like very rarely, I've done these streams where I would just randomly battle people, and those are a lot of fun. So let me know if you'd like those. If you'd like me to do some videos with like teams and stuff, like actually play OU, I'm game for that sometimes. Just post some teams in the comment section below if you want me to, and I'll check them out. That way I don't have to team build and the main horde is gone, and I can try and check it out, and it seems like fun. So that's it. If you got questions, ask them. If you got teams, give them. And if you enjoyed yourself, then drop a like. And happy birthday, Smogon. And I'll see you guys around. Peace.